Hey, Melinda, Positive Polarity. Hope you are doing awesome. I wanted to reveal something to you today, which is usually hard for me, but it's going to be easy. So this one's fun. This one's easy, so no big deal. But I wanted to reveal to you the number one issue that I have seen in 2019 that most businesses are struggling with. The number one thing. You probably already know it, so it's not a big revelation, but we're going to kind of unpack this in a different way. The number one thing that people are struggling with is finding people to do the job. There's so many companies that I know of right now that could grow more if they could fill the seats in the bus. So I don't know if that's you. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I want to talk to you today about talent. I want to talk to you about how to develop that talent. And I want to talk also about kind of a misnomer that I've uncovered and how we can kind of work through that. So I find a statistic that says like 89% of bosses, and we're going to use the word boss, leader, manager, whatever works for you. I like leader, but this statistic kind of shows the naivety here, so I'm going to use the word boss. So 89% of bosses thought that people left because they wanted more money. We hear this all the time: more money, more this, more that. And so that just seemed odd to people. So this study, they do this study, and then they find out that actually the reality of it is, oddly enough, is only 12% of people left because of more money. So why is there such a disparity here? We have these bosses, leaders, whatever again works for you, and they have just not a real accurate depiction of the team that they're leading. There seems to be a huge disconnect, and it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. And so I want to kind of work through something. There's three main phases of employment that could help us reduce that gap. And then I'm going to go through at the end 5 quick ways to help attract some top talent. So strap in. We are going to go as quick as we can. We're going to get into as thorough as we can, but I really think that if you invest the next 10 minutes in this, that you will definitely find something in this time that works for you. Got to set the timer here. Forgot about that. Okay, so the first thing about talent is that we have to look at this right when we're acquiring it. Okay, there's acquisition, we're looking for somebody. And in today's environment where there's 3 or 4% unemployment rate, so many people just want to fill a seat. And I'm still not convinced that that is the smartest way to go. Because if you're on the wrong bus or you're on the wrong seat on the right bus, you're still going to struggle having success. So when you acquire people, I look at this: if the job could talk, what would it say? If we could literally get the job to sit next to us and it would be able to say, this is what I need, hard skills, this is the soft skills that I need, this is the emotional makeup of the person that I need. If it would go through those things, that would be a huge help, wouldn't it? It would allow us to really unpack what is going on in that job. So the first thing is, if it could talk, what would it say? And then once we got all those things down, said what we needed it to say, the next question would be, is how do we screen those people? How do we match the skills? Now, like I said, it's not just the hard skills, but we're talking soft skills. We're talking emotional intelligence. We're talking about the whole entire person. How do they fit into this? What's their mindset? Do they have the skills required from a hard and soft perspective? And then the third way is the third chunk of acquisition is, as you're hiring people, how do they fit into the culture? This is often overlooked, and I think that this is really a solid thing we need to look at, is how do they fit into the culture? What's the company culture? Now, how do you know what somebody's ideal environment is? This is where these assessments come in so handy. So we use DISC, and there's a page right on there that says ideal environment for that individual. So you can tell how well they would fit into your environment. It also says how to manage that person, keys to managing. And so the ideal environment is fantastic. The keys to managing are, and keys to motivating. Those 3 pages are worth a couple $100 that you invest in that assessment alone. And there's 50 other pages of fantastic stuff. So again, the first thing is we look at it from an acquisition perspective. Let's just make an assumption now. We acquire the right person, the job can talk, we screen them properly, we hire them, and they seem to be a fit. Now, we need to develop those people. After we acquire, now we need to develop those people. Interestingly enough, 87% of millennials say that job development is the key. On the job development. Once I get this job, now I want to really start developing my talent and my skills. So when we're onboarding people, the other part of the DISC assessment is awesome, is ways to and ways not to communicate with somebody. So think about that for a second. A new individual comes on your team. Let's just say, simple math, 10 people on the team. And let's just say that everybody's taken the assessment. So now I could create a spreadsheet of 10 people's names on there, and then ways to communicate with them, and then ways not to communicate with them. What a fantastic head start for that individual. Rather than take months and months and months to understand each individual on my team, I hit the ground running because I look at this spreadsheet and I know, like for me, one of the things that it says on ways to communicate for me is be brief, be bright, and be gone. So I took a long time to actually own that because it didn't sound positive at first, but then I realized it's me and it's who I am. And so if somebody knows to be brief and to be bright, be positive, and then be gone, move on to something else, I'm going to respond way better to that than if you are going to, do the opposite of those. So on that onboarding piece, the development of this person is critical. And then also, what's their EQ? What's their emotional intelligence? We spend all this time on the acquisition piece thinking of their IQ, their intellect. Can they do the job? Can they perform the tasks that we want them to perform? This is actually looking at it completely different. This is looking at the EQ part, the emotional part. So once we acquire somebody, once we develop them, now the key is to retain them. And so what do we do to retain these employees, these team members, these awesome people that we hired, we've now invested money in, and now we need to figure out how to keep them around. Now, reviewing people on a regular basis is one great way to keep people, that continual improvement, that check-in process. The problem is that statistically, they say 51% of people think reviews are negative. So half of the reviews you've done in your life, if you're a leader, like I am, half the reviews that I've done, I have to come to grips with it, are not a positive thing. With tools, with DISC tools, EQ, with different assessments that are out there, it turned that around to be 72% positive. And I've seen firsthand how successful that DISC assessments can be in your review process. So if you want to learn more about that, reach out to me. Be happy to help you on that. The second piece of retaining is actually developing the capacity. They want to, most engaged employees, and now remember, there's only about 3 on our team that are engaged. They show up every day with the desire to move the company forward with they know how to row. So what we have to do is figure out the best way to actually help them with their capacity, their EQ, their empathy, what motivates them. Again, imagine having a sheet of paper that you go through with your team member that you can say at review time, what motivates you? And they fill in the blanks. It's so much easier than you trying to understand and decipher what motivates them. And most people, when they think about others, they just think of themselves and they think, well, I'm motivated by this. Let's just say I'm motivated by money. If I'm motivated by money, I'm just making the assumption that everybody else is motivated by it as well. And as we found out at the beginning, there only 12% of people were actually motivated by money, and that's what caused them to leave. So 89% of people thought that's what it was, and 12 was actual. So there's a huge disparity. So for us to think that we can retain people purely by giving them more money is a gross misunderstanding on our part as leaders. So once we've developed the capacity, then we think also about promotion. Does their career path align with their behaviors? Is their mindset in leadership potential there? So hopefully we're, as leaders, thinking about how to move people forward. Most people like to be moved forward. There are plenty of personality types that are happy just doing what they're doing. And they're not interested in climbing a ladder. They're just content. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with those people. There's nothing wrong with that mentality. We just need to make sure that we can identify which person is which so that we help them the right way. So as we start to come in for a landing, I want to run through 5 ways to attract top talent. It's so simple, yet it's so hard to do. The first one is leadership development. The people that do have that promotion mentality, we have to show them a clear path to leadership. We have to show them a clear path. If somebody says to you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? We have to be able to articulate when they answer that question, how to get them there. I'll never forget somebody, I asked that 20 years ago at my past company, and somebody said to me, I asked, where do you want to be in 5 years? And they said, I want your job. And I was president of the company at the time. And I thought, at first I was taken back, but then I thought, you know what, hats off to the guy. So I appreciated that tenacity, and I appreciated that, desire to move forward. I just have to realize that, I'm asking you to kind of think about this from that perspective. If there are people on your team that you feel are candidates for leadership, we need to do our best to develop them. We need also to customize our learning. It's not the same to just hand somebody a book. Maybe we create a book club. Maybe we're part of a round table. Maybe we're online learning, whatever it is, create some customized learning. On our disc, we have a bunch of little 3 to 5 minute videos that reinforce behaviors, because I know as soon as somebody leaves training, they go right back, and if their curve of forgetting, they lose 80% of what they've learned in the first 24 to 48 hours, unless there's reinforcement. So create some customized learning. Make sure that you have a mentoring program as well. A lot of people are looking for somebody to help them along. Make sure you offer regular feedback. We talked about reviews before. If you're limiting your feedback to once every 6 months or once every 12 months, you will not retain top talent, and you won't attract it, because nobody enjoys a review once or twice a year. People want regular feedback, so provide that for them. And then the last thing is they want a high level of engagement. If your office is not engaged, most people will not do nearly as well as they possibly could in a high engagement office. So as we wrap this up, I hope that you found some keys here to help. Jump on my website, positivepolarity.com, and there's a link for a free assessment. So they're normally $209 for the disc and the EQ. Now you can jump on my website and you can get one for free to try it. 60 pages of great information about you. And you can then, if you're interested, have your team take it, and then we just take off from there. It's fantastic, all that you can get from a disc assessment. So hope things are going awesome, and I hope that your primary goal is to acquire quality talent, to develop it, and then to retain it. If you do those three things successfully, your company will explode. Okay? So make it a great day, and I will catch you on the other side. Take care.